Welcome back to the Northern Lights podcast, live at Lucky Leaf. I'm here with Laura Hand from Laura Lou Experience Design,
Hello.
Fractional CMO. Thanks for being here, Laura.
Thanks, Steve. It's so great to see you again.
Yes, good to see you. Traveling in from Iowa.
Yeah.
You've been here for a couple days, though.
Yeah, but I love Minnesota.
Yes.
This has been my cannabis home. So
Friendly cannabis market here in Minnesota. We met sometime in the pandemic.
Yes.
I think through Clubhouse.
Absolutely through Clubhouse.
Absolutely through Clubhouse.
The lonely girl from Iowa that was chiming in and being like, oh, there's my people.
Yeah, I was organizing Midwest Cannabis Club. I don't even remember what we called it, but it was an extension of Canada.mn and
Yep.
the work that we were doing back then. And, during the pandemic, there weren't in-person events, so Clubhouse was the way that we were sharing information, updates. There was a lot still happening. We were still trying to figure out the Delta 8, the CBD, the CBG.
Well, honestly, just like who was in the space.
And who was in the space.
I think it was the very first time that I realized there were a bunch of people in the space. And not even in Minnesota, like just across all the United States and globally,
Sure.
was the very first time that there was that just like community being formed.
And the cannabis industry really popped on Clubhouse for a short run there,
Yeah.
where it was like everybody who was in cannabis, you could find them on Clubhouse. And
I had to open like all day because I was afraid I was going to miss something.
hyper networking was
Yeah.
taking place
Oh, it was great.
all through the pandemic. I definitely, one person that comes to mind, and I've never shared this story out loud, it's not that good of a story, but you were telling me once, you're like, you got to meet this guy, you got to invite this guy, Jeremy Johnson. And, 4 years later, Jeremy Johnson is like one of the leading marketing minds in cannabis. And
I'm so glad that he's keeps on like transitioning to different roles too, so you can bring that expertise and kind of like learn and teach others. So
he's with
always
Quality
been
Roots now, and out of Michigan. He also has the UP campground that he's building up.
Watching it, yeah.
He's building in real time and sharing that story along the way. But you had invited Jeremy to one of our Clubhouse meetups, and he stuck around for a little bit, but. The Michigan market is just so much more advanced from a adult use standpoint than the Minnesota market. And so I just wanted to give you your flowers there for trying to connect me with Jeremy. And I have called on Jeremy a few times in the last few months, fighting to grow and understanding how to navigate as the industry becomes more and more actualized. Jeremy's a great contact, but beyond that, you and I actually did some work together.
We did.
I was working through hemp goods distribution and OG hemp goods, and I was developing a clothing brand, and actually, it ties in with Angela Knox, who's here as well, and we were in a cohort. I met you, and then eventually I met Angela through the CPG and entrepreneur community in Minnesota, and man, it's like, it's never a straight path.
No.
But talk through the customer journey and how you help brands understand how they can serve their customers better.
Yeah, so I'm a complete nerd on customer journey mapping and understand like who you're trying to serve, because I think we get very passionate about the service or the product that we have and that it can help so many people, and so we get almost in our own way of trying to shout at people how great we are instead of kind of remembering who we're trying to serve.
Yes.
Which is why we got into this space in the first place.
Right.
So I am like the one that's always knocking on the door of, you have to know the needs, challenges, and the desires of the people that you serve so that you can, do all of your messaging to cater to them and be where they're at.
Yeah. You like to ask the hard questions in marketing?
Yeah, the homework that people don't want to, it's not the super sexy, but it sets you up for the longer term success that you're ultimately wanting as a business.
Yeah, there's a guy here right over there, Darton Weaver, and you guys need to meet after this interview because Darton is notorious with just like digging in. But what's your why? But what's your
why? Why?
And the good marketers can answer that question. And if you're in it for the long run, you have to know the answers to those questions because otherwise you won't know who to serve.
Yeah. And I think that's not the rub, but like the opportunity of cannabis is that in a traditional product, you've got kind of one market set and one need that you are solving, whereas cannabis can be so diverse, and it's not necessarily a problem. It's helping with sports and athletics to creativity, and so there are so many different paths being able to use this plant, but you still have to narrow your focus to start with one,
right,
and then grow from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, switching gears a little bit, I've known this about you since really early on. You've always been passionate about hospitality and tourism. Talk a little bit about what growth you've seen in that area and how you're continuing to evolve that space.
Yeah, and so a lot of people ask the why behind that, and I think wellness tourism in the cannabis and plant wellness space is such a great way to steward and kind of walk people into what plant medicine could be for them, because sometimes they're not actively seeking the plant. But if they are at a wellness resort or doing a wellness retreat, they're more open to being mindfulness and just looking internally and looking for options such as plant medicine.
Sure.
So and they know they're going to be in a safe environment. They know that they're going to be kind of shepherded through the process and come out better on the other side. And so I think everybody understands travel and tourism and hospitality and that it is a safe space and they know they're going to be cared for. So I think it's just a great way for people to introduce plant medicine. And then on the second side of that is, as Minnesota grows and we've got consumption lounges, event spaces, they're not seeing themselves as hospitality. And I think that is a gap. Because if they see themselves as hospitality and start treating people as tourists and locals, it's going to open up what they have to do for serving. And it can't just be a cinder block room where you consume. Like there has to be
an underground basement. Yeah. Well, you've gone out into the world and experienced cannabis hospitality. Tell us a little bit about your last vacation that you took.
Yeah, I went to Thailand for about 17 days for a best friend's Indian wedding.
Wow.
And then I went down to the beach, Samui, in Koh Samui Island, Thailand.
In Thailand.
And it was magical. I mean, so as a cannabis wellness resort, they have an on-site dispensary. They have an herbalist there that in the intake sits you down and kind of asks what your level of knowledge is around the plant, what your expectations and intentions are, and then they curate the entire week or stay around that. So I did things like, it was with Kana Cannabis. So we did infused yoga and elephant sanctuary. And so like in the morning, it was just awesome.
Oh, wow.
And then each suite has a bathtub on the balcony overlooking the ocean. So I did like an herbal milk bath that was infused. I did, the first time I did ice bath. So it was a meditation and breath work with cannabis, and then did an ice bath in that same bathtub. Infused massage, they had cooking classes, they had a sleep tonic elixir workshop at night, sound healing. It was amazing.
Was it all very small group?
Yeah, there's only 12 suites at the resort. So they're all about sustainability, bringing in local professionals, and just because you want to get to know the area. Like, I don't travel just to get to go to a resort and stay in the resort. I want to know about the people. And so it was great to know the staff and kind of they're in Muay Thai fighting and just get to know them from a personal base.
Right on. Coming back from Thailand, where do you see the future of cannabis tourism in the Midwest?
So there's some great groups like Lifted Lodging. So it's a women-based group that are buying up boutique properties or hotels and converting them into cannabis-friendly stays.
Oh, cool.
And so in the Midwest, we've already got maybe a possibility down in Missouri, and they're looking at Minnesota properties.
Yeah.
And so being able to have that type of space to bring in tourists as well as locals can be great.
Sure.
And then of course we've got the event space.
Yep.
Just cannabis weddings, like Rachel Gordon just had her cannabis wedding. So I think where we're at from the Cannabis Travel Association perspective, which I'm a board member of.
Oh, that's right.
Mark Waller.
For a number of years now.
Yeah. So from that perspective, what we're seeing is just we're at the inspiration stage where there's so many people in the Midwest that have never heard of any of these things like a cannabis wedding. And I love seeing the light bulb go off just like, what? There's cannabis resorts? And so I think all they have to do is keep on saying that this exists.
Right.
And people are going to internalize it. And that seed's been planted, and some great things are going to come about.
Yeah, what I love about the Minnesota market is how we can make the close parallels to alcohol and how we can really leverage alcohol's acceptance and try to push forward with cannabis, because you'd never say you're at an alcohol wedding.
Yeah.
But there's alcohol at every wedding.
Yeah.
And then for Kurt and Rochelle's wedding, which I was there, at Molly's Farm, like that stood out. It made the magazine. It's nominated for awards in this, and so it does take boundary pushers like Rochelle and people in the industry to really fight for their passions to be seen.
Yep.
And then as it becomes normalized through low dose and through really medicinal reasons and, tribal dispensaries and all the access points that we have in Minnesota and all the good things happening in Minnesota, we'll continue to see cannabis reach more of a level of acceptance as alcohol has. Now, it'll never be fully there, I don't think, because of the prohibition. However, we are fighting to get more acceptance. And, it's conferences like this at Lucky Leaf where, there is no cannabis being sold, there is no cannabis on display. However, we're all here to rally around the plant and bring more awareness to cannabis as an industry.
Yeah, take the next step, and it takes people like you. I mean, you've just been forging the way forever.
Thank
so
you.
it's been great. It takes a lot of grit, a lot of heart.
Yeah.
And I know that there's still moments that we kind of look around and be like, are you still? Oh, you're still here. Great. Like, whew, let's keep doing this.
Still doing it.
Yeah.
Well, Laura, it's been great to see you here.
So great.
If folks want to get in touch with you, they want to learn more about the marketing that you provide, where can they reach out?
Yeah, so again, Laura Hand of Laura Lou Experience Design. Website is customerdelightprocess.com. On all the socials as Laura Lou Experience Design.
Yes.
And I think you should check out the Cannabis Travel Association International.
Cannabis Travel Association International. Awesome. Yeah, and you can find all that online, and we'll make sure to include the links in the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to see you.
You too.
We'll be right back.